God bless you, everybody. Welcome to Prophetic Lifestyles with Bernard Bolton, where we are making the prophetic practical, bringing the prophetic into everyday life, and creating the future by the choices that we make today. I pray that you're doing well. The month is almost over. It is actually 222, but we're not speaking on that specific number. But I pray that number, if you've been seeing the number 222, that's really a number of agreement and coming together. It is the number of Adam and Eve becoming one flesh, so it relates to marriage. It also speaks to the key of David, which is the spiritual authority by which one opens the door. But that's really not what I wanted to talk about tonight. There's been a lot of controversy, and it's not really my call to speak to controversy or to speak to controversial issues. One of the problems that I have with the religious church and the traditional church is it is consistently reactive, and so it rarely does anything proactive. It's always reacting to things that happen in the earth, reacting to things that happen in media, social media. And so that's really the religious church, the traditional church. Because we're on a different order and we're trying to, we want to move in the spirit and according to how we're hearing the spirit, we are very cautious about what we speak to. But I did hear the Lord during this current issue about the evangelist. She says she's a prophet, so out of respect, we'll call her prophet, who rebuked the believers who were going to the Beyonce concert. And although the Lord didn't give me anything to speak to that, the Lord reminded me of a call that I had received from him 11 years ago. And that was a call to intercede for those in entertainment, to be an intercessor for those in entertainment, for those in Hollywood, for those in Nashville, for those in Atlanta. And the Lord spoke to me, and then in dreams, I began to see famous people and actors, and the Lord, in one of these dreams, the Lord gave me a mantle. He gave me a mantle to wear for those in entertainment. And so for many years in our previous ministry, Watching on Walls Fellowship, we would concentrate on interceding for entertainment, for the entertainment culture, as we recognized that it was a culture of Babylon, and it was a place. It was one of the cultures of Babylon. Now, Babylon, at one time, Babylon was a world power in the Old Testament. But Babylon still remains in the spirit. And so that's why all the way to the book of Revelation, we see Babylon being mentioned. Babylon is still among us. It is still a fallen system. It is not a fallen system. It is fallen systems, and it is fallen cultures. And at the root of Babylon, it creates confusion, because what it does is it causes people to become so human focused. See, when the original people, when you go back to Genesis chapter 11, and it talks about the people following Nimrod, and that was the first world movement of worldwide unity. And Nimrod, he led the people to Babel, and there they built a tower. And God brought confusion because God wanted the people not to be united to do their own thing, but he wanted them to go out into the earth and populate it. That was God's will. So Babylon has always been about um, people gathering for humanistic purposes and to make a name for themselves and to celebrate themselves and ignore God. Okay, so uh, so when God spoke to me, and it was during the time that I was in the school of the scribe with Apostle Teresa Harvard Johnson, who has remained my mentor for 11 years now. And the Lord began to speak to me about entertainment. And what he shared with me is how entertainment is so intertwined with the church that many churches operate in a spirit of entertainment and not the spirit of God or Holy Spirit. And then the Lord began to show me how many of those who operated in the gifts he had given them had been trapped in an alliance of darkness in Babylon. And they were being destroyed in Babylon, though their gift came from the Lord himself. See, so when we talk about singers and musicians and actors, and we talk about persons who are greatly gifted and who are touching the world and touching millions with their talents, the thing we have to always remember is all creativity comes from God. It was God who created us in his image, and he has given each of us creative abilities. And so those who are in entertainment and those who are in the arts, they're operating in the gifts that God gave them, but they're not operating in a godly sense. Okay. And so as a result, we've seen many people, particularly those in the Black race, some of the greatest entertainers in the earth were Black people, but they were destroyed in their lives because they were entrapped in Babylon and they were confused about who they were. And so one of the things that's encouraging to me is to see prophetic ministries, apostolic ministries, and kingdom stations take an active part in entertainment to help, to undergird, to encourage, and to strengthen those who are gifted, but their lifestyles have not yet acknowledged the Lord. They have not yet believed on Jesus, or many of them have believed on Jesus and they walked away because they had a greater desire to build their own tower in their own name. And so, unfortunately, the call to be an intercessor for entertainment, I lost it. I don't want to really get into, maybe in another tape, I'll talk about how you can lose an assignment from the Lord, but I did lose it. And I've been so focused on apostolically helping believers mature. That's really been the thing I've been focusing on. And then I heard the Lord say, as I was listening and watching all of the controversy about believers going to the Beyonce concert and all of that, and I'm not judging or endorsing Beyonce. I've never been a follower or a fan. So I've seen her in several movies. I've never been drawn to her music. As for me, I'm more old school R&B, 60s, 70s, 80s, back in those days when I was growing up. And but the Lord reminded me how the call to intercede, that he has children who are called to intercede in certain cultures. And then he spoke to me about Daniel. And I heard the Lord talking about Daniel. And though Daniel was a godly man, Daniel walked in Babylon. And the Lord says Daniel was an intercessor in the midst of Babylon. He never embraced their customs. Even as a young man, he refused to eat from the king's table. He always walked in righteousness, but he lived in Babylon, and he stood as an intercessor in Babylon. He counseled kings. He counseled princes. Okay. He actually was the master of magicians. Magicians are not, their gifts and authority does not come from God. Daniel walked in darkness, but he walked as light. And so the Lord says, I am calling, and he said, and he reminded me, he says, I never took that call or assignment from you. And he says, I am calling you to be light in Babylon. And I'm calling you to be light in entertainment. Now, some of you are called to different streams of culture. Some of you are called to government. Okay. As much as I hate politics, I recognize, I actually had a friend that I grew up with. She has a call on her life to politics. She's actually run, even though she hasn't won, but she's actually ran in several races. Some of you are called to politics. Some of you are called to finance, to Wall Street. But you're called there as an intercessor in the midst of Babylon. All right. And so I want, you don't have to get lost. You don't have to get lost in all of the church stuff. One of the things when the church is going off on people, for me, it reveals the separation between the religious and the real. Because a lot of times the religious is just making noise. But those who are real are those who are hearing God, and they are communicating what the Lord is saying. So if you are an intercessor, I want you to, particularly for entertainment, if that's your call, if you're called to that, I just want to encourage you to keep doing it. And see, intercession is not just praying. Intercession is literally hearing God. It's one of the Hebrew words for intercession is paga. It's a pay word. And we're in the pay decade, in the pay era. And so paga is pay gamel. And paga is when we go to meet with God. We listen, but we also speak. So we declare out of our mouth what we're hearing for the Lord. And then we are getting we're getting assignments. Okay, with our mouth we intercede. Intercession is not just praying, y'all. It's not just praying in a traditional sense. We gotta really break out of this traditional stuff about praying. Because some of y'all think all you have to do is pray and then sit back and wait for God. But prayer is actually dialogue and conversing with God, whether you do it in tongues or do it in your human language or do it in the prophetic. And with the mouth, you are creating, and with the mouth, you are receiving from God. And then gamel means to run because you are now prospering. So we get assignments from the Lord. And some of you who are intercessors in the midst of entertainment, you're getting assignments. One of my assignments, and I never saw myself living in Atlanta. Never there. I've been coming to Atlanta since the late 80s. I used to come here. The denomination that I was a part of, we used to have meetings here. And then I started coming back in the 2012. I started coming back for scribal meetings and the retreats and the advances that Apostle Teresa would have. And then I heard the Lord say, move to Atlanta. But Atlanta Atlanta is one of the major, it's one of the major cities for the entertainment culture. And so I know that's why I'm here. And so you get your assignment, you speak with God, you speak to God, and you declare the things of God, and then you get the assignment and run with it. And in the midst of running with that, paga, you are prospering in the midst of it. All right, so this is my encouragement. Don't get caught up in all the noise. If you are an intercessor to entertainment, I want to challenge you and connect with me. Let's connect. I'm actually we're going to put together a group of intercessors for entertainment, because that is one of the, when I was, again, my earlier ministry, even though my focus now is on mentorship in this Renaissance era, to be a mentor and to bring up believers so that they are mature and they are masters. But I have never lost that call to entertainment. All right, so God bless you. We look forward to talking to you real soon. Shalom. Listen, the heart-bending mentorship takes place March 23rd through the 25th. If you're interested in joining us, you can meet us here in Atlanta. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend. I want to invite you to come. This is what I need you to do also. Subscribe to this channel if you have not. Like this video and then share it with others, okay? God bless you. Shalom.